Coming up on EIV News at 6, not one but two frontrunners in the race for the GOP nomination. Find out who's now surging ahead in the polls.
Plus, his jobs bill defeated. Find out why President Obama says he's not giving up just yet.
Now, from Emerson's leading news team, with the latest in world news and our nation's top stories, EIV News at 6.
Good evening, I'm Joy Powers.
And I'm Kelsey Barrett.
We'll start tonight in New York City, where Occupy Wall Street is still going strong. This week marks the organization's second month of protesting. Increased economic frustration continues to fuel the unrest. The movement is lasting longer than many expected, considering it is still without a leader and its overall purpose remains vague. In other news, President Obama isn't giving up on his American Jobs Act. He's currently on a bus tour through North Carolina and Virginia. The president says his plan would prevent teacher layoffs and keep first responders on the job. He says tax breaks for the wealthy will not jumpstart economic growth.
I said, look, this is an American Jobs Act. It's not the Democratic Jobs Act. It's not the Republican Jobs Act. It's the American Jobs Act. We need to pass it.
Obama's bill was recently rejected by the Senate, but he says he still hopes to get it passed one piece at a time.
Meanwhile, even though his jobs bill got shot down, Obama is still on top when it comes to fundraising. He has spent nearly $87 million on his campaign, as much as all the Republican candidates combined. The funds allow President Obama to have campaign offices in 15 states and staff members in 38. And the race for the GOP nomination is heating up. A new survey says new contenders Mitt Romney and Herman Cain are currently neck and neck. Romney has 26% of supporters, while Cain is right on his heels with 25%. But the race is far from over, as 2/3 of Republicans say they're not completely sure who they'll pick.
In other news, consumers everywhere no longer need to fear their cell phone bills. The FCC is ruling phone companies must now notify users when they near their monthly limits for voice, text, or data services. The new alerts will go into effect within the next 18 months. And perhaps the new Apple isn't so sour after all. After doubts about its new model, Apple has sold 4 million units of the iPhone 4S. The company reports it's the fastest selling phone ever within a 3-day period. The 4S features upgraded hardware, improved cameras, and a new personal assistant application. Well, it's that time of the year again, the beginning of the World Series.
With more on that, we bring our EIV sports correspondent, Ian Steele. Ian?
Thank you very much, Kelsey. Now, the first pitch for the World Series will be thrown tonight at 8 o'clock from St. Louis. Now, I'll give you the tale of the tape. In the blue corner for the second straight year, it's the Texas Rangers. These Rangers are the first team in 20 years to get back to the World Series after a loss in the previous year. On the hill for Texas is C.J. Wilson, but he has struggled so far this postseason. In the red corner, we have the St. Louis Cardinals with manager Tony La Russa, who is ranked second all-time in playoff wins. Chris Carpenter will be on the hill for the Cardinals. Carpenter is currently 3-0 in the postseason. Now let's take you to Foxborough for some football action as the Patriots took on the Dallas Cowboys. And if Tom Brady does not look happy here, well, here's why. He had some turnover troubles here in the third quarter. Brady was back to pass. He had all kinds of time. He found Aaron Hernandez in the middle of the field. He was hit by Brady James, and Dallas Cowboys recovered the fumble. The turnover problems would continue into the fourth quarter as Brady here in the shotgun would be flushed to the left by the Dallas rush. He finds Wes Welker. No, he doesn't. He finds Sean Lee. Dallas would get it for a couple yards and get 3 points off of that turnover. But Brady would have the ball with a minute left to go in the fourth quarter. He finds Danny Woodhead for the first down. And then inside 30 seconds in the red zone, Tom Brady is back to pass. He would find Aaron Hernandez for the touchdown, and they would go on to win. And meanwhile, in the NBA, the lockout is still in effect, and Commissioner David Stern has already canceled the first 2 weeks of the regular season. We now bring in our News at 6 sports reporter Marcus Garcia. Marcus, what are fans saying about this lockout?
Well, I took to the streets of Boston to find out what the fans thought of the lockout and what sports they were watching to fill their basketball void.
I feel like it's just a bunch of millionaires fighting with billionaires, just kind of like the NFL lockout was as well. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't really miss it if the NBA was done altogether for what basketball has become.
Bobby Kleinow is just like thousands of other NBA fans who just want to see the NBA lockout come to an end.
they know what's good for them, they'll both get together, because really there's plenty of blame to go around, and they really need to get together.
I think it's shame on this country that we have this lockout, because really we have a great show. I think NBA is a great business, and millions of people here enjoy it.
The main difference between the NBA lockout and the NFL lockout is that fans seem to believe that both the owners and the players are equally responsible for the loss of games.
I've been studying a lot about the who wants what on both sides, and it seems like they just are not budging, and they need to have a compromise.
It's plenty of blame to go around. It's both of them, and it's all based in greed.
If the NBA continues to have a lockout and Commissioner David Stern is forced to cancel additional regular season games, NBA fans say they will turn their attention to other sports in order to fill their basketball void.
I'm just going to wait for baseball season, to be honest with you. I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Absolutely, hands down, NHL. Screw the NBA.
Now, on Tuesday, owners and players met with mediator George Cohen for 16 hours, and while a deal was not made, enough progress hasn't made that the owners and players agreed to meet tonight to continue negotiations.
So hopefully for the time being, we'll still get those Christmas games back with us. Kelsey and Joy, let's send it back to you.
After the break, it's what's called the mother of all protests. The Occupy movement is going worldwide.
Plus, The Avengers doesn't hit theaters till this summer, but News at 6 reporter Brittany Berkowitz got to meet up with the film's cast at New York Comic Con. You don't want to miss it.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Farley. Let's take a look at the national forecast. Not much going on for the West Coast. Now moving towards the Midwest, random showers throughout the states. But what's really grabbing attention is the storm system moving east. Heavy rain moving over Indiana and Michigan. The heaviest part of the storm will be hitting Carolina. But don't worry, most states should see clear weather by Friday night. Now let's take a look at your local forecast. Currently in Boston, we have to say goodbye to the beautiful fall weather with rain and a high of 62. Tomorrow, the rain will calm down, but don't be caught without your umbrella with unexpected showers lasting throughout the day, high of 71. Now moving to the local 5-day forecast. After all that rainy weather, expect to see one of the nicest weekends we've had in a while, with every day experiencing sun with some clouds in the sky. Thursday will be warm, high 71, and on Friday, a high of 64, lows in the upper 40s. Beautiful weather this weekend going through Monday, with highs in the low 60s. And that's all for the weather forecast. Back to you, Joy and Kelsey.
Thanks, Erin. Free at last, Israeli soldier Sergeant Gilad Shalit was freed after being held by the Palestinian militant group Hamas for 5 years. Shalit was freed in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinians from Israeli jails. The Palestinian group made clear that the conflict is far from over. They say they won't stop until all Israeli jails are shut down. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton made an unannounced visit to Libya yesterday. She is the first member of the president's cabinet to do so since Muammar Gaddafi's removal from power. While in Libya, Clinton will work to assist a country's transition. The Occupy movement is going global. Hundreds of protesters in London set up tents at St. Paul's Cathedral. This week, WikiLeaks co-founder Julian Assange made an appearance and led demonstrators in protesting. Police blocked them from entering Paternoster Square, the home of the London Stock Exchange.
In Berlin, Occupy protests began Saturday with thousands of protesters marching to the office of the Chancellor. The crowds are protesting for a stronger democracy and social justice. Protesters also took to the streets in Frankfurt and other major cities across Germany. Portugal has also joined the growing Occupy movement, with protests in 8 major cities. Aside from 2 arrests in Lisbon, the protests were generally peaceful. The demonstrations were sparked by austerity programs announced Thursday by the country's Prime Minister Pedro Passos Coelho. Inflation rates in the UK are matching record highs. Over the past year, one of 2 inflation indexes reported a 0.7% increase, the highest since '08. The rise is mainly due to oil price developments. Economists are calling this data surprising, but believe inflation should soon begin to fall.
The people of Thailand are continuing to fight flooding. Soldiers and residents are obeying the orders of their governor by hand placing a border of 1 billion sandbags to help protect Bangkok. Downpours have already affected 2/3 of the country, leaving some areas 6 feet underwater. Thousands of people have been evacuated and several relief planes have flown in over the area. China remains the world's economic envy even after minor slip-up. The country's gross domestic product fell nearly 1% between the first and third financial quarters. China is taking measures to stop inflation with new financial regulations, but still ranks above the struggling European and American economies. Nissan is now giving you a good reason to buy an electric car. The time it takes to charge the battery just got shorter. The new technology cuts our recharging time from 8 hours to 10 minutes. The company intends to install around 800 charging stations at retail locations.
Last weekend, New York City's Javits Center transformed into the sci-fi spectacle of the year.
EIV's Brittany Berkowitz is live in studio to tell us about her Comic-Con coverage. Brittany?
Thanks, Kelsey. You know, it's the flick fans have all been waiting for, and it was the biggest event at this year's New York Comic-Con. That's right. I'm talking about the Avengers. And I was lucky enough to take to the red carpet to check in with the whole superhero team.
Assemble.
We all know these guys are as big as superheroes get. But the most massive thing about the Avengers is it's a movie jam-packed with powerful personalities.
Tony is modern day. Tony is the future. He's Flash, his ego, he's the spotlight. I think Cap comes from a time where it's a little bit more selfless, a little bit more reserved and internal, and they have some friction as a result.
The movie isn't entirely made up of man muscle either. Kobe Smulders brings some girl power to the film as secret agent Maria Hill.
She's kind of like this tough chick, and it's so great to be, there's not a lot of women in these movies, so it's really cool to put a woman in the mix and have her tough and have her stand on her own.
What really gives the movie its superhero strength is its director, and Joss Whedon is the man behind the legendary Avengers team.
I have wanted to work with Joss for a long time, and was making Wonder Woman jokes to him when he was writing that script.
Finding someone to take charge of a superhero dynamic as gigantic as the Avengers is one thing. Getting a villain who can measure up to the team's toughness is a whole other monster.
With each Avenger, I think he faces a different threat, a different strategy, a different methodology, and some pose more of a threat than others.
Fans can look forward to next May when the Avengers finally assemble on the silver screen. Till then, they might want to work on getting some superpowers of their own to brace the Marvel movie madness.
You know, the Avengers pretty much marked the pinnacle of all the Comic-Con craziness, and the bar for this film has been set so high that fans, myself included, can only hope it meets all of our expectations. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Brittany. That's all we have for this Wednesday, but don't forget you can find us online at eivnews.com.
Have a great weekend.
This has been a presentation of EIV News and Emerson Independent Video. For more, visit us online at eivnews.com.